Good morning, Trey. Are you ready to make a life today?
Heck yeah. It's Monday. I mean, I don't typically love Mondays, but because it's usually like full of meetings, but sometimes meetings produce meaning, right? Because it's what we do, right? Yeah, if you guys are joining us live on Facebook, we're so glad that you're here, or on YouTube. Kurt and I, we do this podcast. You can go to makealife.com/podcast to hear more. And to subscribe and listen. So, yeah, we're glad you're here, but we're going to be jumping into a really fun topic today. And it's something that I think it's really it's important to Kurt and I, because Kurt and I, we met, I don't know, how long ago was that, Kurt? I
It's
mean,
been more than 2 decades. I know that.
it's been a long time. So I actually, right out of college, I was either going to become the video director for kids stuff at North Point Community Church in Alpharetta, or come and be a part of working with this church called Grace Fellowship in Snellville, Georgia. Worst name for a city ever, by the
Yeah,
way.
but Snellville, where
Snellville.
everybody's somebody, Trey, don't forget that.
Uh-huh. And so I ended up joining that church and taking that job because I was really excited about working with the worship pastor there named Aaron Keys. And that's where Kurt and I, we first met. And Lauren and I, man, we were babies back then. We were young. We grad truth. This is the real story. And again, I'm now that I have boys, I'm like, I'm not sure if I tell them to do this exactly, but like, we graduated from Clemson. I got a job. We got married and a dog all in 1 month, like in 1 month period. It was pretty wild. Oh, and we bought a house too. So like, I
Well,
mean, just did a lot of adulting all in a
well,
month.
well, you're the perfect person for because I've been telling you I don't like change, and you're the perfect person to help me because you just like you took on all of life's biggest changes like in 30 days and just survived.
We call this the kind of our Bowden MO, is like when Lauren and I are like, when we're just like, we make a decision, we make it happen. Both of our houses we've bought, we went out one day and found a house. The church I go to now, we went one time and we've been there for 15 years. We didn't do any church shopping or whatever, or not 15 years. It was probably, I think it's close to 12 years now. But yeah, it's kind of, or adoption, right? Like Lauren and I were like, let's adopt a kid, and was something we'd always talked about, but like, we just
Yeah.
made a decision. It's just kind of how we are. But this morning, and that's kind of a little bit about what we're talking about this morning. We've been just kind of talking through all sorts of different things around life and how do you create a good solid foundation. And so today we're going to be talking about healthy homes. If you are joining us mid-month right now in August, our big focus has been about, and a lot of our content that Kurt's been producing has been about, how do we create healthy homes, and in particular around our health. But we know that healthy homes isn't just about the physical health of the home, but it's also about the spiritual health. It's about it's about the emotional health of the home, and all of that. And that's something that's really important to Kurt and I. So Kurt, one of the questions I want to jump out is to jump out of the gate, talk through, is, what is the difference between a house and a home?
Oh my gosh. I think, semantics, sometimes people just slough them off and don't even give them a much value. But to me, a house is the nails, the boards, the bricks, the roof, maybe the sidewalk, the garage, all the little features you have. That's the house. You're buying a bricks and mortar structure to shelter you from the weather, the the evil people in the world. You can lock a door, lock a window, but then you take a home. And a house is good. It's not bad. We all need a house. We need shelter. I mean, scripture talks about, that we need shelter. And that's one of the things that as parents we provide for our kids. We provide shelter. And there are even examples of God's wings sheltering us. So shelter is important. But a home to me is the people that live in the house. It's what gives the house a heart and a soul. Um, like you said, you bought multiple houses. We've been in and out of different houses over the years, first homes and second homes, and they were places for the people that make up the home to go. They weren't the end all be all, the end in mind. They were just a place where you could make those people function better. They could enjoy the beach together. They could sit around a fire together. They could play pool. They could play ping pong. All the things we did in that house were designed for the dwellers of the home. And so, I don't know about you, Trey, but probably the last 4 or 5 years, beginning with COVID, probably gave the globe, not just you and I here in the Southeast United States, but gave the world a forced new perspective on um, what a home is, what a value of the home is. So I think that's changed a lot um, over a period of time. But did COVID change? I mean, people valued it more. We had DIY projects. You stared at the walls of your home because you didn't really have a choice. You got into that scenario not because you wanted to, because you had to. But now coming out of that, I see people like, I don't want to go to work. I want to work from home. I love my home. I love being around my people. How did that impact you?
Yeah. So one of the things that is a little bit unique for me, most millennials, they change their jobs so much, right?
I think 10.
And
I think the average is 10 in a career now. You'll have 10 different jobs. I saw a stat on that the other day.
yeah, and when you change jobs, I mean, for a lot of people, particularly in their 30s, changing jobs often means changing location, right? And because of that, like you're moving around all the time, and it's made me think about like what what is it that really does make that transition from house to home. And some of it is, I think, the transactional view that we have on relationships. Much of the Western world, I think, over the past 50, 60 years have become so fast paced, and on top of that, transactional in how we relate to one another. It's very much like how much, what I can get from you and all of that. And some of that is our disconnection from place, right? Like,
Sure.
you know, uh, I I have only moved 3 times in my life. I've moved to Clinton, well, 4 times. I went to Barry College, or barely college. I called it for a year. So I don't necessarily count that. But I moved to Clemson, and then I moved to Snellville, and then now I live in Tucker, Georgia. And that's really unique, I think, for a lot of millennials. And I've only really had 4 jobs. And so because of that, um, it's forced me to reimagine and think about relationships differently. And your question about COVID is an interesting one because, going into COVID, our whole thing was like we had an amazing community, right? And honestly, it was actually in during COVID where we realized, wow, this is this is a really powerful thing in my life that we couldn't engage with. And it really, honestly, it pulled me out of that, of realizing how important these deep investments in relationships, because the biblical word for household is oikos in the
Yeah.
Greek, and it's not just about the people within your house, the nuclear family, but it's your business relationships, it's your colleagues, it's your friends from church, all of
Neighborhood.
this.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
all of it. And
Yeah.
so in my mind, it really reinforced this idea that a house, or a home is not necessarily a collection um, uh, uh, or basically our physical house, or
Yeah.
even the relationships most close to me, but it's actually a constellation of relationships that we get a lot of benefit from, right? And so, for example, if you had to think about some of the mentors in, we'll just pick on your sons, in your sons' lives, like that weren't necessarily interconnected with your within your house, right?
Right.
What would be a Who would be a part of your home that your boys benefited from?
Aaron Keys, Buddy Hoffman. I mean, you played a role. Matt Reynolds played a role. Matt Williams played a role. Craig Carter played a role. Uh, I mean, gosh, I could name 10 more. Tom Grady, Frank Drury. These are all men that I entrusted my kids to. Now, some of them didn't live close. There's some of them you would make special trips for your kids to interact with them because it was important, or they would come to special events in your kids' lives. But um, they were definitely external family, even though they didn't live within walking distance or whatever.
Yeah, because like here's the thing. I think that one of the most beautiful things, there's a really great book that's called The Wonder of Boys. Gosh, I can't remember the author's name. It starts with it's Michael is his first name, but one of the things he talks a lot about is how boys in particular, how they need their tribe. They need not just the relationship with their father, which is most important, but they need also those external influences as well to help create that sense of, like, spiritual and emotional health. But what we do know is there's something really powerful here when it comes to the relationship that a father or mother has with their kids, and the tone that they set within their home. And so, you and I both believe this, is that the family is a building block for healthy living. And so, tell me a little bit more about, like, where do you see like some of the pain points right now in homes where our lives just seem a little unhealthy?
It's interesting that you kind of connected the oikos and defined maybe that the boundaries of a home are not what everybody thinks they are. That it's that nuclear family, but the bounds are much bigger. And I probably have learned this as much from my business tray as I have from my quiet time or studies in the Bible or from just leaders that have poured into me. I've watched this younger generation emerge. And I think there was a pattern for a long time. You go to school and you get a computer, a cubicle, and a commute, and you just settle into life and you run that rat race. And I'm very proud of you how you've put your foot down and said, no, I'm going to establish myself. I'm going to have my own business so I can control my time and do what I want to do. I think that's so cool. But what I'm seeing and hearing today is, even though people wanted that computer cubicle and commute, that's what they thought they wanted. Um, they actually didn't like it. They got to stay at home during COVID, and now they're saying how much they miss those water cooler conversations. They miss that community that they don't have because they've not done a very good job of establishing oikos. They just live in isolation in their homes. I think we were talking about the COVID thing a minute ago, but I think it's created a strong work from home percentage of the population. It's a culture that desires that, wants that, demands that. It's a part of job packages today. But I think, and everybody thinks it's the cat's meow. I've got total control of my time. I can be on Zoom and just dress from the waist up and all these things that you think about that are like positives. But look at the condition of mental health in our world today. Look at the condition of um, people not being happy and content. And it's not money right now. Money is not the biggest driving factor. And I'm answering your question in a long way, but it's what I see is people are hungry for community. And maybe it may be a stretch to call oikos and community the same word, but your small community would be your oikos, your fellowship, who you fellowship with. And maybe your bigger community is not in the traditional sense of the word, but I'm seeing Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials that beg from this work from home. I want my freedom. I want to make a difference in the world kind of mindset. All of a sudden, they've gotten what they wanted, but they've done a terrible job of establishing community in oikos with that freedom and isolation. And so when people join us, yeah, we make great money. There's great opportunity. There's great products. But I see one of the biggest draws, Trey, is the way we do our business. It's so relationship driven. I think people would join our business just for the relationships without a paycheck sometimes because they're so starved for that oikos you talked about.
That's good. Yeah. You know, some of the things that I see raising boys right now that are the two things that like we're kind of wrestling through. The first one is our relationship to technology,
Yeah.
and then the other one is our relationship to food, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
we'll throw that towards the end here, but you know, uh, some level, I feel like uh, uh, I feel so lucky because I was born in '85. I'm just now 40. I still remember when we got our first computer.
Yeah.
Um, but like the the technology integrated into the home has just created so many more really hard things. We were on the phone with one of my son's doctors the other day, and she was just talking about how the impact of technology and its role on, I mean,
Healthcare. Yeah.
suicide rate,
Mm.
you know, anxiety, depression, all of these things. And it's just, you know, and while I work from home, this is my office and that sort of thing, and I loved it. And for 3 years, man, this is what I did. But I will say, one of the most powerful things that I've done over the past, you know, 6 months is actually joining a co-working community, and I just go twice a week, and just to get out of my house, which I think is really important. And so I think about the people that, you know, within our your business, and also people considering like the work from home thing is like it's great. I love it. I am able to help my wife in ways that I could never do when I was teaching in a school before this. But at the same time, that lack of community, that just really resonates. And honestly, my connection to technology, like this is where I live in front of a monitor and a light and a mic, you know, like this is my whole life. People are always like, oh man, your video setup looks so good. It's like, well, when literally this is the way that people see me, I want to invest into it to make sure it looks good and it sounds good.
Sure.
And it's important because this is my business. I want people to have that wow moment because this is who I am, and it's how I want to project myself. But at the same time, that relationship with technology has been a real hard thing for me um to learn how to parent, because even though I'm a digital native, it's still foreign to me, the relationship that my kids have, you know, with YouTube and all of these things, because it yeah, man, it's a quagmire to deal with for sure.
You know, Trey, that's so interesting because I'm a generation older than you. Maybe not quite a full generation, but I mean, I guess I could be your dad if things worked out that way age wise. But um, I remember, like you remember computers. I remember the punch cards. So when I was in college, we went from punch cards to the Deck Rainbow and the original IBM AT and XT. So I was a part of going from a mainframe to a portable computer, I guess. But and I mean, so I've always been on the cutting edge. I mean, people were scared to touch computers and figure them out. But during college, I was taking them apart and putting them back together. So I lost that fear. But at some point, I don't know how or why, even though I'm a digital's everything around me like it is with you, and I'm a grandpa staring at it where you're in the parenting stage staring at it. One thing that God just helped me see so clear is all this technology, whether it's back in the day, it was a new paper calendar planner system, it was a new pen I could take notes with, a new journal I could write in. Now, most of my new gadgets have an electronic component, and the dreaded nightmare is the battery charge. That's my biggest challenge in life is the things that I want to use, are they charged? But I've always felt like all these tools that God's put in our path that you just described, if we can realize those are to enhance relationships, not replace relationships, I think that's where what your doctor friend that you were talking to, I think that's where her research points to is the fact that whether it's Zuckerberg trying to create a meta world and you know, your friends can be in this, you can live on a virtual planet. And then when you come out of that, you're depressed, because it's not perfect anymore or whatever. But I mean, we have to use the tools we have. We have to, you were talking about food earlier. We have to find the right things that'll help us bridge the gap between what we do eat and we should eat. We need to eat right, but we need tools to support us, not to, like Paul would say, grace didn't come to keep for you to keep sinning. Grace came so that you would appreciate what God did for you even more and to stop sinning. But some people use grace or use a tool that we have as an excuse. And I think you've done a great job, and you helping me, you've done a great job of just, yes, we want a great setup in our offices and stuff, but the whole purpose of it's the relationship. It's not the bits and bytes that are on YouTube. It's the people that we get to connect with.
Yeah, okay. So this is like totally, a random thing here, because spiritual homes are also really important for you and I.
Yeah.
And if you could pick a home that you could have lived in scripture just to have like a window in,
Yeah.
which who would you pick?
Oh my gosh.
And you can't say Jesus.
I can't say Jesus. Okay. Because that would be a stable, right?
That's Sunday
Yeah,
school answer, right? Yeah.
okay. But you're talking about an ancient home, not a modern. Let me think. So I've always thought it would have been really cool because you would have gotten a very large perspective if you could take Jacob had a bunch of kids that became the tribes of Israel, and I guess I would like to have seen how Jacob and Rachel and Jacob and Leah, how they raised their kids, how they created. You had a hierarchy. They fought over Joseph because he was, the favored son. They thought with the coat of many colors. A lot of challenges there. But if I could have been in some of their tents and been a fly on the wall to hear Jacob and Rachel discussing, okay, here's what are we going to do about this? I mean, he has not watered the donkeys 5 days in a row. How do we discipline this child? Or he likes this girl, but she's not the one we want him to marry, or whatever. All these conversations. I think that would have been a good one because I see the outcome of the leaders of all those tribes and the repercussions that those 12 kids. Think about history, what came out of those 12 kids. So I would love to have been inside the tent of Jacob and Rachel. I mean, Jacob had a few wives and concubines or whatever and maidservants. So I would have loved to have heard those conversations.
Mm.
Do you have a favorite one?
Yeah. So I think this is a little offbeat, but Lydia's home.
Okay.
So
you went
if
New
you're not,
Testament. You went New Testament on me. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, still ancient world, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But I always thought I'm always curious about Lydia and her influence over, particularly bringing the gospel to a wide, yeah, just a very wide region, and being not necessarily like one of the elders of the church or whatever, but being this like incredibly influential woman in the upper echelons of Roman society, and
Yeah.
being somebody in that home and watching her steward those relationships. I don't know, I'd just be really curious about that.
It's
Well,
interesting.
thanks.
Do,
Yeah.
do, do we know much about her husband? I'm trying to remember. I remember
No, I don't think so. No,
no. I
I don't
mean,
think
you,
there's
you,
anything
you
mentioned
should have
there.
worn
Yeah.
purple this morning. That was her favorite color.
Oh, I
So
know, right?
yeah.
Sorry, quick aside, but
No.
the other part that I was talking about is one, is our relationship with technology,
Yep.
but also just our relationship with food. So, growing up, my mom, bless her, love her to death, but uh, we we the way in which we ate vegetables was basically out of a can or in the microwave. In fact, when I went to college for the first time, I told Lauren I was going to make her some green beans, and I came back with cans, and she looked at me and goes, "What are you doing?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "It's green beans." And she goes, "This is not, no, go get real green beans. Go
Yep.
back to Bilo and make it happen." And I was like, "How do you cook real green beans?" Because she grew up on a farm, right?
Yeah.
Um, and the real truth is that my relationship with food, man, I just wasn't taught how to eat. I wasn't taught, how to even like consider what does a healthy lifestyle and relationship with food look like until about 5 years ago. Legitimately, I started doing Noom, and I was like, whoa, there's red foods and yellow foods and green foods
The
and all of
rainbow,
this.
yeah.
And man, I'm telling you, like I had no idea how to eat.
Well,
And
it's so cool that you brought that up because well, you and I've never really talked about this, but I have that deja vu moment kind of too, like you had with Lauren and the green beans. When my grandmom died, the cooking, like real food, it died. I mean, my granddad, I saw him. I mean, he would go, he would work his butt off and plant a small garden in the backyard, and because of that, they'd have fresh produce. It wasn't a big garden, but plenty for one household. And my grandmom always had something fresh cooked on the counter, and she would just throw ingredients in and cook stuff. She didn't like read the label, stick this in the microwave for 15 minutes or whatever. And so I told Lori, I said, and her mom cooks, but her mom cooks like convenience foods, hot dogs, frozen waffles, those kind of things. She doesn't really cook from scratch much. And my mom didn't either. But when my grandmom died, our relationship with food and eating at home, it was like a paradigm shift. It wasn't even close, like kind of like what you're talking about.
mhm. And I think that, like, I mean, we both know this. It's the industry you're in, and the research is just showing people are becoming more conscious of what they're intaking into their body these
Yeah.
days. I mean, that's just plain. I actually saw last week, Gallup released a poll that right now the lowest reported alcohol consumption period
Yep.
that of people reporting that they drink alcohol. It's like only around like 53% of adults say that they drink alcohol, because, and everyone is pointing to it, is because of the research that's coming out, which should be a motivator, by the way, to
Yep.
partners, because they need to be realizing, like, here's the deal. People are paying attention to research. Research is your friend. And if there's something that is true about Juice Plus in particular, is that research is backing this product. It is 100% clear. If you don't believe us, you need to go listen to the last episode, because it was super powerful and you need to listen to that.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr.
But
Valerie Miles. You were amazing.
no doubt. But here's the deal. Like, we've got we like I believe, so my father passed away about 3 or 4 years ago. And the thing is and this is kind of where my wake up moment was, is he died from lung cancer. He was a cigar smoker. And here's the thing. I know for a fact in my 40s, when my dad started smoking again, if someone would have come up to him and said, listen, for real, I know you're gonna die at 71 from lung cancer. Are you sure you want to do this? He would have said, heck no.
Yep.
You know what I mean? No way. He'd never make that trade. And I'm starting to evaluate my own life of saying, huh, dementia, for example, is it runs in my family. Like, I have stepped into sobriety because of that. Like, there's just so much research out there that's showing that possible connections, particularly for the people who have a higher proclivity towards genetics and things like that, towards dementia. And so I say all of this is because it should be a motivator for any of us who are in the whole food nutrition space to realize that at large in culture, people are asking the question, how do I live a long and healthy life?
Trey, even if you're not in that space, I mean, I remember the first time we heard about this as parents, not when I was young and I experienced what we talked about, that food awakening with my grandparents and not eating healthy cooked, homegrown food anymore. But as a parent, the guilt that a parent or a grandparent, I think, should feel today, if you're responsible for what food goes in the mouths of the next generation, that's a burden on you. You mean one of the things I've seen that's evidence of that is people have tried to learn how to read labels. What is it? And then the government's making food companies make the labels more clear because they were deceptive and deceiving and they were hard to read. But um, yes, I'm in this space and in this business, but it's so confusing. I'll give you one example, and then we can kind of land this plane on what our company's doing about this, Trey, to help. But if you were and I were, let's say we were both the same age. Let's say we're both your age. Let's both 40-year-old males going, we want to get healthy. And we both walked into, I'm not picking on this brand name store, it's just like GNC, a vitamin store of some kind. And you go in at 10 a.m. and you say, hey, I'm 40, I really want to get healthy. What would you recommend? And then I go in the same store and literally we have a script. I ask the exact same question at 2 p.m. You and I are going to leave with a different bag of potions and solutions just based on who the clerk was that helped us at the moment we asked that question. And we're going to stare at a wall of 1,000 different options of what we could take: brands, quantities, liquid, pills, powders. So I have a little bit of pity on the consumer out there that's like, okay, we're trying to eat right. How can I supplement and bridge the gap? The confusion that the average consumer goes, you're talking about information overload and deception. That's one of the cool things that I think I get to do is just bring some simplicity and clarity to somebody's life.
I mean, right? I mean, you and I listen to a lot of similar people, and like particularly the things that I think a lot of researchers out there are showing is that it's actually more simple than you think,
Yep.
right? It's actually more simple than you think. Like I don't go to a GNC. I know I need to exercise.
Yep.
I need to drink water.
Yep.
I need to sleep.
Yep.
And I need to eat right. Those are the 4 things that I know that I've got to do.
Those are
right?
4 amazing things. I wonder if a company could just get their act together and make that be their 4 core principles.
Mm-hmm. You know, and you know, who knows? Maybe there's a company out there. But here's the thing: my other piece to this
Yeah.
is like now there's a lot of research too about this whole gut health kind of thing.
Yep.
Which again, go back, listen to the previous episode. It's really
Yep.
interesting. I think that's the most interesting emerging field that right now
Yeah.
is around how gut health is so important. I mean, I was listening to Andrew Huberman. He's one of the guys
Oh, I
listen
listened
a
to
lot.
him yesterday.
Oh man, like I never thought about this. Is that like, again, sorry, I'm just on the alcohol train
Yep.
lately. But like when you get a cut,
Yep.
you put a rubbing alcohol, you clean it with alcohol. So
Yep.
what happens when you put alcohol into your stomach? You kill microbes. Like that's the reason why you get the beer farts, whatever, like that. You know, like that's what's happening is you're disrupting your gut biome. I was like, I've never thought about the fact that anyways, it's just really fascinating. But you know, I think that that's another big topic of conversation, but it's in the food category.
Yeah.
But we're off track. We love talking about this
Yeah.
stuff. Here's the thing: our job as dads, and mom and dads is to create healthy homes, and we do that first and foremost by having a physical place for our kids to find and have safety.
Shelter. Yep.
I think the other thing is to help our kids find a spiritual health, right? But then the stewardship around whether it be mental health or emotional health is certainly important through the parenting process. But a simple activator is to think about how are we keeping our kids healthy by what they intake. And I know that Juice Plus in particular has a particular way of doing that through the Healthy Starts program.
Yeah, Trey, we got to land this plane because I mean, I've since you've been talking,
We could talk about it forever.
I've thought about 30 rabbit trails we could go down that we didn't even finish, and so we've got some more podcast topics for down the road. Let's put a flag in the ground. Let's you and I talk about reading labels one day. That could be fascinating, actually.
99% of it. Sorry, I have to just.
Yeah.
99% Invisible is one of my favorite podcasts, and they have a whole thing about Best Buy, and not like the technology store, but the Best Buy dates and how wild they. Anyways, that's
all right, y'all can count on Trey and I, even if it's an odd one-off. We'll do a podcast on labeling because we'll have a blast. Anyway, so our founder Jay Martin knew that the adolescents weren't getting the right amount of health and getting the right amount of nutrition. We're simple. Like, what do you not get? The fruits, the vegetables, or the berries. We're not trying to give you some kind of rocket science, souped up chemical formula from bark in East Asia. It's just fruits, veggies, and berries. Your kids need to eat more. You need to eat more. We know that. If you say you're good at eating fruits and veggies, my bet is it's apples, bananas, and carrots. I mean, you're over and over and over again. You're not getting the variety. So we did something about it. Your kids between the ages of 4 and 26 can get Juice Plus free until they're 26 years old, as long as the parents on the product. So it's a great opportunity. We're funding your kids' nutrition. We're helping you bridge the gap. But I wanted us in this episode to identify what it's done for our business too, because we talked about that in the beginning. And yes, people are making bad decisions out there and they're struggling, but I don't think the world is narcissistic. I don't, when I go out and share Juice Plus, I'm not going to share it with Trey and he's going to say, "Great, Curt, I want to get healthy. Screw my kids, screw my wife. I don't care if they take it. Just me. Let's get me healthy." You know, he doesn't think that way. Not because he's this awesome, wonderful, amazing person. He is, but that's just not the way humans think. They're building, they want their, if one person in that house gets healthy, it's hard for one to eat donuts and the other to eat salads. It just doesn't, they don't coexist very well. So the home gets healthy. And the people in my company, in my business, the ones that have built the largest businesses, their target has been a healthy home, a healthy family, not a healthy person. Because you know what? That healthy home's contagious.
Yeah, that's right.
That healthy home speaks to the pediatrician that says, "Why are your kids never sick?" That healthy home speaks to other families and said, "My kids had snot 5 times this year and I haven't seen you suffer with that. What are you doing to keep your kids healthy? My kid's waist is bulging. Your kids seem so fit and thin. What are you doing?" And it's contagious, and healthy homes build healthy neighborhoods, and healthy neighborhoods build healthy cities and build that community. And so I would just challenge you um, to listen to some more of our materials. But our Healthy Starts does the 4 things Trey talked about. It focuses on exercise, sleep, rest. I like to call it rest. It's the balance between work and rest. It's hydration. Are you drinking enough water? And there are lots of ways to tell. And is your diet a more whole food diet? And in today's world, what you're hearing on the news, you heard in political campaigns, it's really, are you eating processed foods? Are you eating unprocessed, are you eating real food or fake food? That's kind of the read the label. And I'll give you one label trick that I learned. It says, if there's a word on the ingredients that you have no idea what it means, you probably shouldn't eat it. Look at just, if you want just a quick filter, look at the ingredients. If there's something in there you don't know what it is, then don't buy it. It's pretty simple, but we want to help you. I want to help you be a better entrepreneur and provide a work from home environment with community for you and your family and build that life-changing generational income. But I also want to help you just take that simple step. The first step is to make your home healthy, to
That's right.
share that with 3 other homes, share it with your neighborhood, and all of a sudden you're at the top commission level with our company. It's pretty simple if your target is a healthy home.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Curt, great conversation today. We went a little long. If you joined us on Facebook and YouTube, we're so glad that you were here. Please do share this out. This is immediately available on Facebook and YouTube, but our podcast gets edited and chunked out on the second and fourth Thursdays of the month.
Right.
And so you can catch it there, and you can always catch us up by going to makealife.com/podcasts, and you can find wherever you subscribe to podcasts. But thanks again, Curt, for a great conversation.
Yeah, it was great. And can I give them one teaser to close it?
Sure.
So, one of the most emerging areas of health is gut health, like Trey talked about. And I will just go listen to our previous episode or just be on the lookout during the month of September of the Juice Plus Company's commitment to making gut health important. I think you're going to be excited about the direction that our company is going in. And I think you're going to be excited about having something to help you bridge the gap. And that's all I can say. But just stay tuned.
All right.